Hi, so I'm here today with Hector Palacios, the architect behind the plan for the Cinta Costera in Puerto Armuelles. Good evening, Hector.
Hi.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure, I'm originally from here, from Puerto Armuelles. My dad worked for Chiquita Banana for 47 years, and I was one of those students that was very fortunate enough to go to high school in the States through the program of Chiquita Banana, and then the university is also in the States. And basically, I worked after I graduated, for 15 years in pretty high-end firms in the United States, in architecture firms.
And so how did you come back to Puerto Armuelles and become involved in this Cinta Costera project?
Well, 12 years ago, I'm the only child of my family. So 12 years ago, I thought out, how I was going to deal with my parents getting older, and so I just pretty much decided to come back, even though I was having a very successful career. My family is very important to me, so I decided to just come back to the States and be here for them, and I opened my own firm here in WGD.
And did somebody contact you, or who instigated this?
Well, the project really, I started it from scratch. I sat here at this table for hours, figuring out why this district couldn't start economically. What was the problem? And I did a whole analysis based on my experience that I acquired in the States, and how to develop strategies for areas that were economically having a hard time, and how to rescue urban areas, basically based on their heritage and on their identity. So when I did my analysis, the first thing I looked into was how can this district, restart, other than just thinking about bananas. What are other amenities, what are other benefits that this district has to offer? So with my experience based on developing these types of strategies and projects, I realized that we had a whole lot of good stuff here, a lot of stuff to work with. We have beaches, we have forests, basically. We have the bananas, we can't ignore that. And we have a lot of infrastructure, abandoned infrastructure that has a lot of character, a lot of identity. So when I realized all those things, plus the natural landscape, we have a beautiful landscape. We have the deepest waters here on the Pacific coast. So we had all these things, and I decided, well, instead of fighting or going up against the farm industry and getting that started, which was going to take quite a bit, I decided to promote and present to people all the other benefits we have here in this district. So once I saw that, I started thinking about how to incorporate Puerto Armuelles into the national tourism plan. So based on my experience working with hotel chains in the States, working with Stearns Wharf Pier, the Natural History Museum in Santa Barbara, how they developed the whole strip along the beach, I realized we have just about and even more opportunities to develop. So I established a whole plan that not only talked about tourism, but how to integrate logistics, tourism, and agriculture. So those three components are really the basis, or what they call the pillars of the governments, not just this government, but the previous governments. So that was the common denominator. And the important thing about that is not only that I started talking about the Cinta Costera, that's really one component. The whole thing that I developed is how to integrate the pier with the Cinta Costera and with a master plan of the whole district, which that is also coming up next year, I believe, is to get with the Institute, or the MIVI, which is Ministerio of Vivienda,
Mm-hmm.
I guess land ordinance. They're going to put out pretty soon a whole bid for developing a master plan for the whole district. So all these things are now, after 10 years, are starting to come about, and the people are being very receptive to it. So I think the main idea for me was how to incorporate and develop new economies that weren't just dependent on one product. Otherwise, we're going to repeat the same problems we've had 10 years from now. Because part of my study realized that we are in a post-industrial period. Right now, Puerto Armuelles is still in the industrial period. So that transition has been seen in other parts of the world where you go from industrial to post-industrial. But in order for that to take place, you need planning, you need strategies, you need to develop all the components and make them work together in like some sort of synergy. Otherwise, you develop one sector that may interrupt the development of the next sector. So we need to do this in a very organized manner.
These are certainly exciting times for Puerto Armuelles. I think you told me it only took you how many days to actually put the plan together, too?
Well, the idea I've been working on it nonstop. I mean, I developed it the first time literally 10 years ago.
Okay.
But the mayor and the people that were interested in developing, they were very receptive to the idea on how to change, literally, I call it change the chip here in Puerto Armuelles, is to promote ourselves. And the mayor has taken this approach that the mayor is not the authority to just hand out bags of food and bags of cement. We had a long conversation. The idea is to promote the district. The mayors are, with this new law of decentralization, the idea is that they promote their district to try to generate more work, to develop the economy, to incorporate tourism, which is one of the most productive sectors. So these people asked me to help them because they knew what I've been talking about for 10 years. And they decided they wanted to work with me or for me to help them out. So when I did this, the idea was to integrate this whole Cinta Costera, but and I only had 15 days because I had done it just on a schematic level. This is really still schematic, but a bit more advanced, and it was more of a before it was just a general idea. Now it's been more precise in the sense that I actually walked up and down 1.6 kilometers, documented it, photographed, counted trees, and make sure that what we were doing was not going to fight or go against nature. You know, nature really has worked in our favor. We do have a seawall. However, a portion of it has been destroyed by the ocean. So why am I going to build something that's going to be destroyed again? So my approach has been to, and with the people's input, was to work from within the seawall. And we already have a 30-foot setback. So what I did was walk all the 1.6 kilometers to make sure that the setbacks have been respected and not invaded. And to my surprise, it's all intact. So we don't have to deal with relocating people or taking them out of their homes. We don't have to do any of that. And basically the whole strip has a lot of landscaping of its own. So that brings a lot of benefits and lowers the costs of this type of project.
Do you have a broad idea of about when the project is going to get started, the construction, and how long it's going to take?
Right. Basically, the project consists of 5 parts. The first part is near the Club Social, pretty close to the pier. We're going to develop proposing a park. Then in front of the Club Social, that's going to be a plaza with a flea market type of structure and infrastructure. That's going to be a public space that's going to be used for cultural events, etc., which enriches the whole component. Then as you walk down towards San Vicente, there already exist several parks, but that's another part 3, which it includes gazebos and barbecue areas and games for kids and a small park, and also includes part of a basketball court, existing basketball court, the Ibiza bar, and then as you continue all the way to the street where the old Fisherman's Wharf is. So that becomes a plaza itself. That's part 3, no, sorry, part 4. And then from the Fisherman's Market pier, then there's part 5, which goes all the way down to Tsunami Hotel. So those 5 parts, out of those 5 parts, the budget now is close to $800,000. We're developing 3 out of 5 parts. The first park, the boardwalk, where the other parts are, and then we skip the Fisherman's Wharf, and then we do the other third boardwalk, which goes all the way to Tsunami Hotel.
How long
And
do you?
we
Oh,
expect that to be this first uh, phase, I guess. We expect that to be done easily within a year and a half, 2 years.
oh,
So
good.
it's really not, that was actually, that's why those are the lower costs, because it's really building over solid land
Right.
or the inland. The other two projects, which are the most expensive ones, are the Club Social La Playa, the plaza, and the flea market, and that's 20 million and $10,000. So we're looking at raising funds for that part, and that should be built also in about 2 years. So depending on when we start, if we start parallel, then we're looking at potentially having the entire project done in 2.5, 3 years. Because the plaza as well is really a small structure, and it's $750,000. So that plaza itself can be done easily in a year and a half. Now they're already talking. People got excited about the small little wharf down there
Hmm.
that has been destroyed by time. I only made it the exact same distance in my proposal. Right now, people are talking about making it longer. So, which would be a nice wharf to walk around as well. Obviously, not as big as the existing pier. So, all in all, I mean, it's a very realistic project. The total is $3.6 million. So, I mean, I'm used to seeing projects like that done in 2.5, 3 years easily. So, I really think it can go really fast. I think that people are going to really enjoy something like that. So I've been contacted by several of the big actors in Chiriquí that are willing to become partners with the mayor, with like a private public venture to provide funds for those two other phases. So, I really think that we have a lot of support, not only here, but outside of Puerto Armuelles.
Well, this is all good news.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Hector, is the biggest benefit that this project is going to provide for Puerto Armuelles and the residents here?
Well, I really think it's a multi effect or multi benefits. Obviously, one, touristically speaking, for the locals. I mean, you really change the image. You have, obviously, it's not the whole town, but the important thing is that it puts you on the map for something to do, and that's only going to attract, more investors. Going to attract people, local people, to visit the beach front. It's going to attract people from the province and nationally to come here. And I really think that's going to benefit the entire community, the entire district, because it's going to generate jobs. Just building this project, you can literally start. We've already started calculated between 300 to 500 jobs. Maybe not permanently, or at least for the duration of the project. That's about $2.5 million in salaries. If we can attract with some venture like this, 100,000 people per year, we're looking at generating $50 million in 5 years. So our analysis is not just to make pretty pictures. We've actually really investigated and documented how much money is going to generate this type of project, because it's also going to include the small stands. The municipality is going to be able to rent those spaces, events, you name it, leagues, soccer, beach soccer leagues, beach volleyball leagues, people that sell, you know, little, I guess, hamburgers and things like that. So all in all, people along this strip, their properties are going to go up. I know clients of mine that have 10 or more lots along that edge because they just haven't been able to do anything with it. So all in all, it's going to benefit from the very low to the very high end type of jobs. So you can also imagine all the different um, businesses you can establish: renting bicycles, renting jet skis, teaching other people how to ski, all the water sports you can think of. So not only that, all the other cultural events. You can use these plazas, which was the idea, to create points of encounter, so people can enjoy, each other and meet people. So all these things are going to generate a whole bunch of activity. It's going to influence different economic sectors. Like I said, all we need is 100,000 people per year. And when I started presenting this 10 years ago, based on my studies, people would question, how are you going to get 100,000 people a year in Puerto Armuelles? I said, do you realize how many people go to the fair in David in 2 weeks? 300,000 people in 2 weeks in a fair. Now, I'm not saying we can do a fair of that size, but we can become very creative and use that venue to present smaller types of fairs. Not one big fair per year, but small little fairs that you can do per month. And I used to live in New Orleans, so I know exactly the culture or the environment you need, because they have a fair or some sort of event every weekend. They close the street. Oh, today is White Linen Weekend. All you do is walk around, drink wine and cheese, and look at the galleries. The next weekend is the sugar cane and some. The next weekend is the swamp thing, whatever. So the thing is that you need to be creative and bring people to here, to Puerto Armuelles, and it's going to generate a whole new industry.
I think you're right. There's nothing like this in the interior on any of the beaches here. So
Exactly.
it's a fabulous idea. We're very lucky, I think, to have you back in Panama again. And I think it just goes to show we have a lot of talent that comes out of this town when you're given the opportunity. So thank you very much, and we really look forward to watching the
Well, thank you very much.
project.
Look forward to seeing you guys more often.
Thank you.